Good afternoon, everybody. This was kind of an impromptu live. I think I need to talk about this. I think we need to talk about it. Is everybody leaving the US? I mean, all the Black women. We know people been leaving the US for years, right? But amongst us retirees, I like saying that. Retirees, yeah, that's me. Amongst us retirees and mature Black women, Black and brown women, I'm hearing a lot about a lot of us, many of my friends, people are getting residencies in other places, in other countries. They are seeking citizenship in other places, in other countries. And some of us are like, well, where y'all think y'all going? Well, some of us know, but there are a lot of Black women, black and brown women who are retiring and don't understand what what the big deal is about leaving this country. Now, of course, that desire to leave the US has ramped up because of the election, the results of the election. And I don't want to get into all of that because this is not a political channel. I'm just here to talk about being retired as a Black woman, aging in the 21st century, right? Just here minding my business, drinking my water and my tea. If you're out there today, like I said, I know this is impromptu, but if you're out there today and you want to talk about, or wondering like, what is the big deal? What is the big deal? Are all the Black women leaving the US? Well, I can tell you, absolutely not. There are going to be a lot of us that stay, right, and weather this 4-year storm, or we hope 4 years. We hope for years. And there are a lot of us who never thought about leaving, who are thinking about it now, right? A lot of us who thought about it, or haven't thought about it, rather. We're thinking about it now. There's a lot of folks thinking about it now. And there's a lot of people out there to help you make those decisions and to help give you some idea of what steps to take in order to do those things. But first, if you're new here, I'm Sibongale. This is We Don't Retire, We Ascend. That's because to retire means to pull back, right? To pull back or retreat. We have no intentions of doing that. We are going to soar. We are going to ascend in our newfound freedom as retired women, women of leisure, right? So I've on a previous post, on a previous video, I've said that we can be happy no matter where we are. And I still believe that. We can be happy right where we are. We don't have to go anywhere. It all begins with a change of thought, a change of mind, regardless of what's happening around us. I had a comment to that video. Someone said that I was being a Pollyanna. I've never been accused of being a Pollyanna before. That's funny, but okay, I'll take it. And no, you don't have to leave here to be happy, right? No one can steal your joy. How they used to say in the church, the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away, right? So you don't have to leave in order to be happy. You don't have to. I'm going to say this: you don't have to leave in order to feel at peace, right? Because the peace starts within here, right? It just depends on what, I guess, what lifestyle you want to attach to that. The peace begins within you. If you agree, give me a thumbs up, or any of those, give me any of those icons and emoticons that symbolize peace. Peace sign, a dove. But if you are thinking about leaving the US, I'd love to know it. Drop something in the comments. Let me know you're here. Let me know that you are considering moving. You want to move. You've thought about it. You wonder what it'd be like. If you've traveled at all, then you've been to places that you like. Maybe you didn't like them so much, right? Right now, the tension in this country is so thick you can cut it with a butter knife. And anyone who knows me knows that, well, let me just say, don't let the smile on my face fool you. I have my concerns. I have my concerns. And while I believe I can be happy in any place, I feel like I can be happy in many places, right? I feel like I could be happy in many places. No matter who's in office, no matter what is going on in the country. And let me say, moving abroad and living abroad is something that I've always wanted to do. I've been wanting to do that long before we realized we could do it, right? I think a lot of, especially mature Black and brown women, are learning and realizing that, I could do that. I could have done that. I could have done that a long time ago. We never imagined, right? I know I come from a family that didn't travel nationally, much less internationally. And so I know for a lot of us, it's hard to imagine actually living in someone else's country or in another country, right? I've talked to some of the older women older than me in my life. And the first thing they think and say is, girl, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't leaving here. I was born here and I'm going to die here. That's one of the sayings that I hear often, right? Which is fine. But wow, this is such a big world. This is such a big world, right? It's a lot, even despite the fact that it's mostly water, there's a lot of land and a lot of lands and a lot of places to explore and to go, a lot of different peoples and cultures. But particularly at this time, there are a lot of people who are leaving. There are a lot of folks leaving, and I would say with good reason, right? I know when I was in high school, particularly in high school, and when I was coming into my own as a writer, and when I began to learn about the expat writers, right? Like Hemingway and James Baldwin, Richard Wright, or even like some of the jazz musicians and entertainers like Josephine Baker. Gertrude Stein was another writer who was an expat in Paris, I believe. When I learned about those writers in particular, who went to other countries and lived lives that only most could imagine, that's what sparked my interest in living abroad. Okay. I don't know if y'all could tell. I'm sorry about the glare on my glasses, on my new glasses, but the sun just rose up higher in the sky, and as a result, it brightened up in here. So that's what happened. Yeah. I've wanted to be an expat and live in another country since I learned about those writers, Maya Angelou. All of these people spent some time abroad, right? And so that's not something that I recently thought would be nice. I've always wanted that. But it was not until 1998 when I had my first international experience in Trinidad and Tobago, right, with my husband. So I've been going back and forth to Trinidad and Tobago for many years. But I've also been to London. I've been to London. I was in Paris for one day when I was in London. Took the Eurail to Paris for one day. And oddly enough, I actually enjoyed London. That was, I think, 2008. I really enjoyed London. We went to Paris for one day. Maybe if I had spent more time in Paris, I would have really enjoyed it at the time. My French, even though I'd taken French, my French was not that great. And I didn't have a whole lot of time in Paris. And so I can't really say how much I know they had good wine, but it was Paris. So of course, right? Of course, it was Paris. So they have to have good wine. I had the best rosé wine I've ever had in my life in Paris. And I can't tell you the name of it. I've not been able to find anything comparable since. But London was really nice. It's a city full of history. And it's a mix of history, but at the same time, very modern. And so I've been there. I've been to Morocco. I went to Morocco in 2022, I think, 23. I can't even remember, with the Exodus Summit group. I got a chance to meet the wonderful and the lovely Stephanie Perry and the wonderful and lovely Rashida Dow and the wonderful and lovely Adelia Abor-Sharday, and about 100 other sisters who are thinking in the same way about moving abroad and living abroad and traveling, right? Even if it's just bopping around. So that bug hit me. That bug hit me. Let me see. Have I been there? I think I've been other places in the Caribbean. I've been to Jamaica, Dominican Republic. I've done cruises that were docked in, came around the Caribbean, Cayman Islands, Bahamas, and Cuba. I could go back to Cuba easily. So I guess I'm bitten by the travel bug for sure. And I would like to turn that into an experience of living life abroad. So if you're just coming in, by all means, let me know you're here. Give me your name, or drop a name, drop a thumbs up. Let me know you hear me. Holla at me, holla at me, holla at your girl. All right, I'm just stopping in quickly on this live stream. I just wanted to talk about everybody leaving the U.S., particularly Black women. We are leaving. I don't even know if we're coming back. Some of us leaving and ain't never coming back. Some of us just want to bop around, as they say, because of the political climate, right? Because of the political climate. However, sometimes people say wherever you go, there you are. So I guess it depends on what you're leaving for. And if it's possible, if you want to leave just for the experience and come back when it's all over, that's cool. We can do it. We can do whatever we want. I know there are a lot of people who say, well, I'm not leaving because this is my home. This is my land. I'm American. And nobody's going to make me leave, right? It's funny when the racists tell Black people to go back to Africa. It's funny because most of us, the great majority of us have never been in Africa, right? I went to Morocco a couple of years ago, and that was my first time in Africa. That was the place that I thought that I would go first, but hey, it was a great experience. So yeah, I'm just here to talk about what's the deal. Feel like Seinfeld now. What's the deal with all of these Black women leaving the country? Where y'all going? What y'all leaving for? Well, most are leaving for a better life. Most are leaving to go somewhere where they can be treated better, right? As a human person, as a human being, as a woman, as a female, and as just another person who has the right to walk this earth. No, going where you appreciate it, going where you are at least not um, approached with disdain and hate, right? At least go somewhere where people respect that you have a right to be where you are. And aside from that, we're not trees. we're not we're not trees. We don't have to stay planted in one place. So what about you? Are you making the decision to stay or leave? I was gonna say earlier, I started saying and stopped. Don't let the smile on this face fool you. Although I believe that I can be happy no matter where I am. People who know me know that I've been very concerned lately, right? I've been concerned and I'm not afraid and I'm not fearful, but I am concerned, right? My therapist would say that I was trying to be in control. And if you're watching this, that's so funny. She would say that I was trying to be in control, but I'm not trying to be in control, but I do want to be prepared. That's my thing. I can't control it all, but if I can be prepared, why not be prepared, right? Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, whatever, however the saying goes. On top of the fact that I've always wanted to go, so I'm looking into. I personally am looking into the possibility of living life someplace else, whether briefly, intermittently, or permanently. Who knows, right? At my age, I don't know if I want to be moving around too much, right? But I definitely would like to have some place else as a landing, right? Um, Sometimes we are so used to living our lives in the way that we've always lived our lives. We can't imagine doing things any other way, but I've never been that person. I've always been open to the possibilities. And seeing as how there's how many countries in the world, maybe a handful of them we might not want to go to, but there's a lot of places out there. And if you have an interest, and by the way, someone asked me once, no, someone commented once that they were happy that this was not a channel about traveling. It is not a channel about traveling, right? This channel is about Black women in retirement, Black women aging in the 21st century. But traveling is one of those things that we do when we retire, right? Traveling is one of those things that we do. Moving abroad is one of those things that we do. So at this point, it's particularly right now, because I know there are a lot of us who are leaving. It would be, I have to talk about it. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about it. I'm certainly not ignoring the fact that people are leaving, that people want to leave. And frankly, if you really want to go, I feel like this is go time. Right. It's go time. But I'm not here to alarm anybody, because it all is what it is, and you're going to do what you're going to do. You're either going to stay or you're going to leave, or you're not. But hey, this is as good a time as any to explore another country. I will say that. But certainly check all the things that you need to check in terms of visa requirements, passport requirements, all of the things of those natures. I'm not here to school anybody on that, because I'm still doing my own research. And again, this is not a travel channel, but I guess I want to address the concerns, particularly of older Black women, mature Black women, who are deciding what to do with the rest of their lives, right? Those of us who receive Social Security, right? That's a very real and a very, it's a concern, right? We are hearing a lot of talk more recently, about the possibility of Social Security being eliminated, although we've worked all our lives and paid into it, and it belongs to us, right? But somehow they've decided that they don't want to give us our money. But that money is ours. And as long as we can get it, we should get it. But I know a lot of people are concerned about that, particularly people who are living abroad on Social Security only. But guess what? It ain't just Black people living abroad on Social Security only. As a matter of fact, it's mostly other people who are living off of Social Security abroad, have been doing it for years. Check those places such as Puerto Vallarta. I might not have said that correctly, and I'm in a Spanish class, but places in Mexico like Puerto Vallarta, maybe Guadalajara, Italy, places in Europe, Spain. They've been living off Social Security abroad for many years. Why shouldn't we, if we want to? Why shouldn't we? Okay. So I would venture to say that not all Black women are leaving. It's going to be plenty of us still here. It's going to be a whole lot of us not leaving, right? I am looking into it, but I've been looking into it for a while. I'm just waiting on the proper time and waiting for everybody in my household to get on board. Where am I looking to go? Well, right now, the easiest places is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at places in Mexico. I watch a lot of videos on Merida, so I would love to check out Merida. In Mexico, let me see, is there any place else? Mexico City sounds grand, but as I age, I'm not sure I'm willing to navigate the spaces of a large city at this point, in another language at that. Although estudio español. Sí. Estudio ahora. Estudio español. I went to class this morning. Actually, I'm just auditing the class because I've taken Spanish before, and I did well, but I'm just reviewing it because it's been so long ago. So hey to everybody that's dropping in. I appreciate you dropping in. This was just kind of impromptu. It wasn't planned. It wasn't scheduled. I just wanted to talk about the fact that there are a lot of Black women who are leaving the U.S. to live abroad in other countries, and the possibility that I may do the same, right? I love to travel. I've always wanted to live abroad, particularly as a writer. I just always felt like as a writer, that was my rite of passage, to live abroad and work as a writer. And so I understand if people are wanting to leave here because of the politics, because of the climate in this country, the climate of hatred and the climate of disdain for Black people in general, and women, and transgender, LGBTQ, all of those things, right? This is not anything new, though. People have been leaving the U.S. for years, long before we started talking about it, long before I, and some of us, many of us, even knew that that was a possibility, right? We only thought the wealthy did that, but that's not true. And it's certainly not true in this day and age. I've always been a little bit of a nomad. And so in my neighborhood growing up, my auntie used to call me Nellie Nomad because I'd be on my bike all over the neighborhood and they'd have to look for me. So I'm looking into move abroad options, right? Again, I'm looking at Merida, Mexico. I'm looking at Panama. I know a lot of people say, oh God, those are probably the hottest places. I don't know yet. I've not been to Merida. I've been to Cancun. And actually, when I went to Cancun, it wasn't so bad. Partly because I was there in March. I think it was in March. And so maybe it wasn't that hot there at the time. Or maybe Cancun is just positioned differently. I don't know. No, this is not a travel channel. I'm not here to give you ideas about how to go, how to leave, when to leave, where to go to. I'm not here to do that. This is a channel for old ladies. Hey, Aqua Black Nomad. Hey, sis. I appreciate you dropping by. Yes, we are leaving, girl. We leaving. We out. We out of here. And yes, I hope to be amongst you at some point. Of course, if I go, when I go, y'all know y'all will know all about it. Y'all will know all about it. Y'all will know all about it. We leaving. We out here. I am planning a trip soon, an exploratory trip. I'm not going to say exactly where, but I will say that I'm looking at Merida. Let me say that right since I'm taking a Spanish class. Merida in Mexico. I'm looking at Panama. Not really looking to move to a big city, right? I've had enough big cities. See, I'm at that age. I'm at that age. I'm ready for a slower pace of life, right? I want to be able to walk to the corner, get me some mangoes on that corner, walk to this corner, get me some tacos or some doubles if I'm in Trinidad and Tobago, of course, which is another possible location for my landing. You know, I'm looking for that ease. Maybe walk a block or two to the beach, or drive 20 minutes to the beach. I don't want to be far. And I know those places. I know you might be thinking, wow, she wants to go to all the hot places. Definitely. I'm bundled up right now. It's the first day of spring here in Georgia. I'm bundled up now because I do not like to be cold. It's probably about 60, 62 degrees, but it's always colder in the house than it is outside. Right? So yeah, and I know folks say, oh yeah, this is a different kind of heat down here. Well, I want to see. I want to see it I want to feel it for myself. They say that all the time. When I was in Tobago back in October, I was in Tobago when I turned 62. And also election night, I was in Tobago. And it was hot like fire. It was hot like fire. It was like maybe 90 degrees, 90 something degrees in October. And you get your hat, get your umbrella, and walk to the beach. And you're at the beach all day in your swimsuit or whatever. You're not thinking about it, the fact that it's 90 degrees. That water feels so good. Please. Please. Hey, Doc S. Robinson. Thanks for dropping by. Have I thought about South Africa? You would think with a name like Sibongile, right? I've never been to South Africa. I almost had an opportunity to go last year when Exodus Summer went to South Africa? I almost went. But I was looking at retirement at the time and preparing for retirement. And so I decided to put that trip off, right? I hope to get to go sometime because yes, I expect to meet a lot of Sibongiles in South Africa. So I have not considered South Africa as a retirement destination, but certainly I want to travel to South Africa for sure. For sure. Kosi Sike Leila. Is that the song? And it's so funny. I always meet people from South Africa, and when they see my name, which is a South African name, Sibongile, they always light up and they say, "Are you from?" Nah, sis, sorry, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, originally, but I've been in Georgia for over 30 years. So yeah, Maybe one day. Maybe one day, Doc. Right now, my choices would be, and I've not even ever looked into the immigration policies or the visa requirements for South Africa, but right now I'm looking at Merida, Mexico, Panama, somewhere in the area of Panama City, Panama, um, Trinidad and Tobago, which is my husband's place of birth. That's where he's from, Trinidad and Tobago. I've been there many times, and so I'm very familiar with that island life, that carnival life. So right now I'm only looking at those. I'm looking at places that don't have winter, quite frankly. I don't want no more winter. I don't I don't need no more winters in my life. What about y'all? Where y'all going? I want to know where y'all going. I ain't leaving no time soon, by the way. And I'm not here to promote uh, an exodus. We all have to do what's best for us, right? And I know a lot of people don't want to leave, have no intentions of leaving, ain't worried about leaving, ain't trying to leave, and that's fine too. I know plenty of people who can imagine leaving this country. I think part of the part of what makes it possible for me to leave in my mind, right? For a long time, I have to say, for a long time, I've been on my own in general, right? Both my parents passed when I was very young, when I was still in high school. And I've felt kind of on my own since then, right? I've never felt this sense of patriotism that some people do. I guess I wasn't in the military. This is the country where I was born. I identify as American. I ain't got a choice. Anybody that hears this voice anywhere in the world will automatically know. I wouldn't be able to fake it if I wanted to, even with my Espanol skills. Even with my Espanol skills, I couldn't fake it if I wanted to, right? But I've never felt an allegiance to stay in this country. It's just too many other places. It just really is. And so, yeah, I'm not ready to give up American citizenship. But I don't know. I haven't been into any place long enough to make a statement like that. But people are doing it. People have been doing it. Some of us anyway are kind of new to this game. When I say new to the game in terms of moving abroad and traveling abroad, I didn't grow up with family members. I had one uncle who was in the Navy, and he would occasionally talk about being in Korea or something like that. My brother, who was my half brother and much older than me, he was in the Army and he lived in Okinawa, I think. Maybe, I don't know if he was in Germany or not, but he was in Okinawa, right? And I had a glamorous, fabulous aunt who traveled and took cruises long before I knew Black people could do stuff like that. But I mean, people have been doing it for a long time, right? And I'm new to the game in that I've finally realized that it's a possibility, right? Had I understood that it was a possibility 30 years ago, I might not be talking to you now, right? I might not be talking to you now. Okay. Oh, great. That's great, Doc. Can I call you Doc? Doc S. Robinson? You've been in Johannesburg for over a year. Okay. I don't know. I want to ask you, are you a single Black female? And how do you feel being there? Are you there alone? I know some of us don't want to travel alone. Many of us don't want to move it, certainly don't want to move abroad alone. And that depends on your situation. Sometimes we are not physically able to do that, right? There are a lot of us who still aren't physically able to, who aren't physically able to travel alone. I met someone recently who has some health issues, and she needs a caretaker, so she can't travel very far. Certainly not alone, but when I went to Morocco a couple of years ago, I traveled alone, but when I got there, there were, of course, 100 Black women waiting for me when I got there, and I met some really cool sisters on that trip. I met Dee and Herman from H&D Abroad. I met Dr. T, Dr. Tawana from Transition to Tech and the Co-Living Life. I met a lot of good sisters. So just because you travel alone don't mean you have to be there alone. We know that. But this experience is also a part of being a Black female in retirement, right? Having your time back to yourself to do whatever you want. Traveling may be one of those things. I know sometimes people think, oh, I don't know what I would do in retirement. Do you like to travel? Do that. If you like to travel, do that. See, okay, she says, Doc says, yes, single, Black female, senior, alone, but building community and staying in touch with the family in the States. Absolutely. Make a soft landing for them. You may have someone coming behind you that says, man, Auntie Doc S. Robinson, Auntie went to South Africa to live. Why can't I? Okay. You are showing the way and paving the way for someone younger in your family. You may not even realize it yet. Grandkids, nieces, nephews that realize, because part of what made me want to move abroad or at least travel, right, was seeing my glamorous aunt who I just said went on those cruises when we didn't even know Black people could go on cruises, right? When many of us weren't even thinking about getting on a boat. It was a lot of us, we weren't even thinking about getting on a boat, right? But she would go on cruises and she'd come back with these pictures, the ones you take with an actual camera film and a flash, with her mink coats and her good wig, and taking pictures with the white captain. And we was like amazed, like, wow, when we start doing that. Before seeing her do that, and before seeing my uncle on ships in his Navy uniform, right? Before I saw those things, vacation and a trip to me was driving down 55 to Little Rock, Arkansas in the car with my folks, right? With a bag of, home cooked chicken wings, or chicken, not just the one. Back then it wasn't chicken wings, it was the whole chicken, or sandwiches or something, right? You get in the car and drive to see your folks either south or somewhere south. Mine, as far south as mine went, was Little Rock, Arkansas. But yeah, that was travel to me before I realized. And also, like I said, if I had known 30 years ago that how possible this was, right, I probably would have done it long ago. Within those 30 years, though, I've gotten married. But when I first went, my first experience in college, right, I took French. Right? I took a French class. I took a couple of French classes and did pretty well in the class, right? And my French instructor, and this was like early 80s, my French instructor said to me that I could teach in Paris, that I could go to Paris and teach English. If I wanted to go for a summer or backpack in Paris or whatever, I could do it and teach. And I was like, I knew nothing about visas then. I knew nothing about teaching abroad, teaching English to anybody. My first reaction was, how can I teach English to someone in France if I don't know how to speak French? I mean, I was taking a French class, but I didn't speak it fluently enough to teach English. And her response even then was, you don't need to know how to speak French to teach English. They don't want you to speak French. They want you to speak English so they can learn how to speak English. Right? Sometimes I could kick myself for not taking that advice. Should have gone in. And of course, all of these years later, what did I say? That was in the early 80s. So that would make that, what, 40 years ago? 50 years ago? Oh, Lord. I hadn't thought about all of that. But had I taken that advice, I mean, who would have thought that all these years later, now I have a teaching English as a foreign language certificate. I've taught English online as a foreign language. And I now know that there are language schools all over the world that I could be teaching English at any number of places, right, in other countries. And had I known and understood that back then, I probably would have left then, right? But again, that was a time I thought you had to have a lot of money to do it. I didn't know nothing about jumping planes, catching flights, going here and there until I got older, even though my first flight was when I was 14. I don't think I flew again until I was an adult. So yeah, Black women are leaving. We leaving, right? If you're just checking in here, this was just an impromptu live that I decided to come on here and talk about because of the climate in the country. Everybody's leaving, and not just Black women. There's a lot of folks leaving. I don't know if y'all heard about it, but Rosie O'Donnell, is it Rosie O'Donnell? Rosie O'Donnell, she said, I'm out of here. She went to Ireland. You know, she had that little beef with, what's his name? When she was on The View. So she just assumed, I'm guessing she assumed she was on his list of Americans who, you know, might be in trouble right now or might be subject to his, you know. So from what I understand, she's moved to Ireland. Now, I don't know if she's gotten citizenship or if she's got dual citizenship or how she's doing it, but Rosie said, I'm out of here. Rosie's moved to Ireland. Someone else, I think, left. I want to say Eva Longoria. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think she left. But I think she already had a home in Spain or something like that. She already had a home in Spain, I think, Spain. So people are leaving, right? I watched, what's his name? Jose Ortega, I think it is. Jose Ortega. He has his show about Merida, Mexico on YouTube, his YouTube channel. And he always tells his story about how he left with what, $1,500 and moved to Mexico. He said he had $1,500 in his pocket. So it's possible. And if nothing, this move and these moves that Black women are doing has shown us that this is a possibility, right? That we're not trees. We don't have to stay planted in one spot. We can move, right? And right now, we still have the freedom to move, okay? We still have our American passport, which will allow us to go most places for now. But if it's something that you're interested in doing, I would be constantly checking. My husband and my Spanish teacher have gotten on me about doom scrolling. I'm just trying to stay informed. I just want to know what's going on out there. So just in case. But yeah, just stay on top of it. A lot of people are moving to Africa. They're telling us to go back to Africa. There's a lot of us that are and have been for years. Have been for years. Check W.E.B. Du Bois. He lived and died in Ghana. Du Bois, and I actually have a cousin, I want to say a second cousin, again, that I didn't really know years ago that I was told lived in Africa, I think in Ghana. I never got a chance to meet her or learn more about that because back then it was like, what? Wait a minute. How you do that? But you can do it. You can do it, right? We have options. We have all kinds of options. We just have to decide what we want to do, if we want to go, if we want to stay, and you don't have to go. There are plenty of us staying, and you can be happy no matter where you are. That's still my motto, right? But if you feel some kind of unrest, unpeace, that's not a word, unpeace, but unrest, or if you feel ill at ease in one country, the information is out there to learn how to relocate, right? To move abroad, to learn about visas. I've learned over the course of since the pandemic, that anything you want to know, anything you want to learn, any processes, any phone numbers you need, get on the Googler and go to YouTube University. It's all out there, baby. It's out there. Anything you want to know about whatever it is you want to do. If you want to learn basket weaving, I bet you if you YouTube basket weaving right now, you can find an instruction video. You want to learn them new boots on the ground video, boots on the ground dance, YouTube video. I learned how to do the shuffle. Is it the shuffle? Let me see. Is it the? I'm trying to think of it. I don't know. Not the shuffle. That was from the 70s, right? The shuffle was from the 70s, right? Wobble baby, wobble baby, wobble baby. That one. I learned that on YouTube. I learned how to line dance. Yeah, I learned how to line dance on YouTube. So it's out there. The information is out there. And if you are interested in moving abroad, one of the first steps that I know I can tell you with my chest, I can tell you, get your passport. Just get your passport. Start your research and get your passport. That's the first step. Get your passport while you still can. We have no idea what's going to happen in this country. I'm not being alarmist because I won't be gone. I won't be gone before the week is out. But get your passport. I do know that much. Every grown person should have a passport, whether you planning on leaving or not. Get it for identification purposes. Yeah, you got your driver's license. Yeah, you got your state ID, but get your passport. If I can't tell you nothing else about moving abroad or not moving abroad, get your passport. Did I say get your passport? They last 10 years, right? So get your passport. Am I looking to move abroad? I'm looking into it. Yeah, I'm looking at places in Mexico. I'm looking at Central America, and the Caribbean. I'm looking into it, mostly because the one thing about me in retirement, I've always wanted my retirement to be in a place where winter is about 76 degrees. The depth of winter is about 76 degrees. Yeah, I'm a summer girl. I don't like to be cold. But if you are interested, if you are thinking about it, right? What's stopping you? If you want to move abroad, what's the hold up? What's holding you back? You need a passport? What's your reasons for not moving abroad, right? I know a lot of people feel like this is where my parents were born. This is where they died. This is where my grandparents, great-grandparents, my people came here in slavery. Our blood has been spilt on this soil. I ain't leaving. They can't make me leave. Right? I respect that. I respect that if that's your reason for not leaving. I respect that. Right? But what's your reason for not leaving if you want to go? Right? If you want to go. Some people don't want to go. They want to stay. And I know a lot of us, we feel that the U.S. is very much ours, as much as it is any, because our people did work the soil, built the land, built the air thing. There would be no United States without Black folks. We know that, right? So a lot of us have no desire to leave at all, at least not to go to stay, right? But if you are interested in moving abroad, what is your reason for not going? Is it money? Is it not knowing how you would feed yourself if you decide to move to Europe or Caribbean or wherever, right? There's a YouTube video for that too. I think her name is Libria Jones. She talks about work, remote work, right? The pandemic showed us that we could work from anywhere, right? The pandemic showed us that we could work from anywhere. So if money is the issue, there are ways to make money abroad, because obviously, if you move to another country, if you don't get citizenship in another country, you wouldn't be allowed to work, right? But of course, here we might not have that issue because we are all retirees, right? Most of us are retirees. So we are either getting Social Security or some type of pension from a job that we've worked for many years. So at this point in our lives, if you are of a certain age, and notice I didn't say retirement age, because you could be retired at 40 if you so choose. But make a way for yourself in this world, right? This is a big world. You're not a tree. You don't have to stay planted in one place if you don't want to. And also, if you want to stay, that's one good thing about being a woman. We can change our mind. We can make decisions for ourselves to either stay or leave the U.S., right? But in whatever you do your research, stay abreast of what's happening, because deadlines and requirements for visas and things like that are changing, right? Or either people are saying that they're changing and they're not, because recently and lately there's just been so much confusion around things. I was watching a video about the possibility of there being travel bans on some particularly some Caribbean countries. Venezuela, I think, was one, a whole bunch of countries. But then it came back saying that, well, there was a report in the New York Times about travel bans, but the U.S. had not, or those countries had not been in contact, or the U.S. had not been in contact with those countries to even discuss or even talk about a travel ban. So it was really kind of confusing as to, is there a travel ban? Is there not a travel ban? How official is the official news? That's one of the things that concerns me right now in this country, is not so much as who's in office, but the confusion around information. And that's part of the reason why I've been doom scrolling, because you want to know what the truth is about everything, right? And even the truth can change depending on who is delivering that information. So yeah, I think I've gotten out all that I was thinking about this subject. Again, it feels like we all leaving the U.S. Everybody, it seems like they're ready to get out of this country. But the truth of the matter is, people been leaving this country, and it ain't just us. In fact, it's mostly not us, because they They can read the writing on the wall as well. And if they got the money, you better believe they got some extra passports. But for now, um, again, do your research, stay abreast of the news. While I don't suggest you doom scroll, or while I don't suggest, make sure that your news sources are legit. And right now, the sources that we've always relied upon are lacking. I'll just say that. And with regards to the changes that are happening as a result of this new administration, the only thing that I will say about that, because I said I wasn't going to say nothing about that I'm not a political person, but it's not so much of the person that holds the office of president. He doesn't concern me as much as the people pulling his strings. You heard? It's the people pulling his strings, the people behind Project 2025, the Steve Millers and the Steve Banyans and the Kevin, I forget his name, the guy over OMB, and the author of Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation, and all of those sort of things. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for mentioning all of those names, but those are the people who concern me. I don't think he, and maybe that black cap wearing guy. Yeah. Those are the people that concern me. If it weren't for them, I don't think he'd know his asshole from a hole in the ground, quite frankly. But I'll stop before I say more than I should. So thank you all for joining me so much. I didn't think that I would be talking this long. I've been on here almost a whole hour. Good grief. But yeah, even after the stream, if you think of, I want to know, what places are you looking at going? If you thought about going, if you considered going, even if you wanted to go, I know you don't want to, but if you thought about it, what places would you be looking to go to? What places sound interesting to you? Right. Initially, when I was in high school and was reading about the expat writers living in Paris, of course, Paris was my first go-to place, which is the reason why I took French in high school. And my first semester, my first years trying to go into college back in the day. When I went back to school many years later, I went back to school when I was in my 40s. No one around me in Georgia was speaking French, so I decided to take Spanish instead, and I'm glad that I did. But yeah, what places would you be interested in going in? Africa, someplace in Africa. I know a lot of us are going to Ghana. We're going to South Africa, like Doc Robinson. Those are the two places. I think Rwanda is big these days. A lot of people are looking at Rwanda. Rwanda seems to be high on a lot of folks' list. Of course, we're looking at places in the Caribbean. The Caribbean can be kind of pricey, though. Not the low cost of living that us retirees might be looking for. And of course, the South America and Central America, those are places that we're looking at. Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, Portugal is one place in Spain, in Europe that I hear a lot of people pushing. Our Black Utopia talks about their move abroad to Portugal. So that's another place. Brazil is a place that I've always wanted to go to Brazil. I'm always interested in the religious, African traditional religious practices in Brazil. Sao Paulo, the blackest place outside of Africa, from what I understand. That's a place that I wouldn't mind checking out. And they speak Portuguese in Brazil. So what places would you find interesting? What places do you think you would like to check out in terms of a move abroad if you were to leave the US? Let's just imagine. Imagine for a moment. Do you really feel like the US? Do you really feel like the US is the best place on earth? Is this like the best place in the world to be? Before you answer that question, think of all the places in this world, right? And then, of course, we have to list these places in terms of our preferences. Like, what is it that we're looking for in a country? Are we looking for something in particular? I know we're looking for peace of mind, security, right? Safety. Those are some of the things that we are looking for. Do you find all of those things here in this country overall? Peace of mind, security, safety. Do you feel safer today than you did 4 years ago? 8 years ago? 12 years ago? What do you need to feel safe? What do you need to feel secure? What about healthcare? Is your healthcare here the best, truly the best? Right? I think that I've probably received the same type of care that I always have my whole life. I don't see anything different that my doctors, the doctors that I've used, I don't see anything different in what they're doing now when I go for an office visit than they did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right? I don't feel that I'm getting anything. There's no personalized healthcare, right? I don't care how much money you pay. I don't feel anything. I don't feel that there's anything personal about the healthcare that you receive in this country, at least not the healthcare that I've received. And yes, I have insurance. I've always paid for insurance, usually through my job. So, I mean, what are we looking for? I hear they still do house calls in certain parts of the world. Can you imagine having a doctor come to your house? Right? Or do you believe the propaganda that we get in this country through the media? Do you believe what they tell you about other countries? Right? I know we hear a lot of bad stuff about Mexico, right? We hear a lot of bad stuff about Mexico. But do you know how big Mexico is? Right? If people in other parts of the world only formed an opinion of the US based on what they hear about what I don't want to call the name because Chicago, for example, like we hear a lot of bad things about Chicago. If people in other parts of the world only form their opinions of the US based on what they hear about Chicago, should that keep them from coming to the US? Right? Should that keep them from coming to the US and maybe going to Florida or Nebraska? So why would you let what the media here tells you about one place in Mexico? Why would you let that form your opinion of all of Mexico? Huge. It's pretty big. And so is South America. And so is Africa. It's pretty big. Don't believe what you hear about these countries in the media or on the news or from somebody who think they know and ain't never been. Go see for yourself, right? Go see for yourself. You can make that determination. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Go where I saw this on another channel recently, and they said, quote unquote, go where you're treated best. That's a thought, right? So I think some of us have never considered that or thought about that. In this country, we've never considered it. But go where you're treated best, right? And that ain't just for Black women, that's for everybody. Go where you're treated best, but especially for Black women. because we know this country has a disdain for Black women, a general disdain for Black women. And I know this is not everybody, but definitely this country. So I just wanted to pop in for a little bit on live. It wasn't planned. I hadn't planned to do it. Please, if you like anything that you hear on this channel, drop some hearts in the comments, or better yet, hit like, subscribe, and share. Share this channel with a Black woman who is aging in the 21st century, a Black woman who is retired, a Black woman who is thinking about moving abroad. Again, hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. It takes a half second. A half second. Just click it. All right. And subscribe. Come back and see what we're doing in retirement, because we're doing a lot of stuff. We're not just moving abroad. We're doing a lot of things. We're going to school in retirement. And as a matter of fact, this is, I think, background season. I've gotten a couple of background acting gigs, which is something that I do in retirement. I am writing in retirement. So if these are some of the things that are interesting to you, I occasionally do a co-writing session called 15 Minutes of the Great American Novel, although I am considering moving that to 60 Minutes of the Great American Novel, because I don't think 15 minutes is enough. If you're just joining us in the future, again, hit like, share, subscribe. Go back and check out some of my other videos about life as a Black woman in retirement and aging in the 21st century. And if you are a writer, even if you're not a writer, if you're just working on your grocery list, right, and you need to sit down and focus on that, whatever it is you're writing, check out 15 Minutes of the Great American Novel. I don't have a regular schedule for that. I usually do it about 7 in the evening because I'm not a morning person. But check that out. Check that out. Check out. Subscribe, right? If you subscribe, then you'll get a notification when I'm doing it, because I usually do put out a notification before I do it, right? And again, be prepared to sit down and write for about 60 minutes with maybe a little break in between here and there, okay? Again, thanks y'all for joining me. My name is Sabongale. This is We Don't Retire, We Ascend. Tell your mom and them,